Hey, what's up there, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, I just got back from seeing The Menu, new film that came out this week. And I must say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. This was a super fun, so it's a dark comedy type thing, sort of with and just so much messaging with like fine dining restaurant culture. Like if you've ever been to a fine dining thing, I've never been anything on this level where it's like a almost 2,000 a pop. But I have gone to some pretty expensive places where it's like 100 a head, 200 a head, you know, and again, it's different. You go for the experience, and when it's cooked right, like people who are professionally trained, it's just it's different. That's really all I can say. And this has a lot to do with like the whole fine dining aspect of it. From the again like people taking pictures of their food with their phones, people essentially coming in and not appreciating like what's even in front of them. It's just like they just want to talk about how great it is. And then there's of course, the whole kitchen culture where the chef is essentially like, the god of the room. Uh, and I've never been in a professional kitchen like that, but I've been in enough like fast food kitchens um, to know that I mean that is, and I've been in kitchens with chefs, so like so I mean, I as someone who's actually been in that culture, yeah, that is kind of true, and it is kind of shitty and sucks, but it's whatever. But man, this movie, like, I absolutely loved it. So I like how it essentially like how there's a lot of characters that get FaceTime that have a lot of lines but each one of their parts, it seems properly portioned. It is really like a fine meal if you think about it. Because again, everyone got the appropriate amount of time. Everyone, acted the way they were supposed to act. And honestly, I thoroughly loved it. I mean, again, you start off with this in this rich like restaurant that's like 11600 a head or something like that. I forget the actual price, but everything's like super cool. Like everything on the menu is caught on the island, made on the island, so it is fresh. It is amazing. And but very quickly you see that things go kind of awry. So there were a lot of so I was surprised with how many British actors there were in here, and this in fact even has a British director, a Mark Mylod. What is he known for? So I mean, not very big. Mostly television stuff from what I'm seeing. I mean, he did 6 episodes of Game of Thrones. I don't know which ones. He did Succession, um, Once Upon a Time. So he's done some stuff. And honestly, way to go! Like this was actually really cool, and I don't recognize who these writers are. So it's Seth Reese and a Will Tracy. Um, so yeah, I have no idea what they've worked on before, but if they wrote this, they did a damn good job because the there are certain things, and that's just sort of with something like this where the movie is kind of like a message in itself. There are some aspects of where you have to, not think about things because if you do, it doesn't make sense. Um, but you don't mind it so much because again, once you see this as like how it's promoted is a dark humor, dark comedy. Um, you just sort of go for the ride and you just ride it all the way through. And you kind of can go over all that because even regardless of, the certain things that don't make sense, I mean, I love the recipes that they put together here. I mean, this is essentially a five-course meal with dessert, and some individual meals as well. So there's a lot of food mentioned here, and man, there's they have a lot of fun with it. Like as dark as this, like this really is dark humor. Like if I mean, not to get really into it, but I mean, even the previews kind of put it out there. You realize that something is seriously awry with this night going on, and it actually really quickly like comes to the point, and from there it's just literally watching this night and delivering its message, and again doing its take on the fine dining culture. So absolutely loved it. Like the music was actually amazing. Like it had sort of high upbeats toward the beginning, and then it just got more progressively more sinister and dark as things went along. So I enjoyed what they did with that, and it for the story it was telling. It did not run that long. It did not even run 2 hours. It was only 106 minutes. So, I mean, it's a quick watch. You know, great acting, great performances, great shots, great sound. I mean, yeah, it was super fun. The ending kind of went a little over the top, in my opinion. Not that it wasn't bad, and not that I didn't enjoy it. It's just from everything that how amazing everything was, and we'll get into it in that in spoilers. Uh, the ending itself, it just seemed like a little bit off the rails, to be honest. So, but that's okay, you know. It didn't take that much from the movie. Um, Man, what else can I say about this? I don't think there's much else I can say about this without going into spoilers. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my rating, and then we'll go into this movie. Um, so what would I give this? Because again, there were a few things that didn't make sense, but as someone who was along for the ride, I didn't mind that. But I think the ending was a little bit over. So honestly, I think I'm going to give this a 9. This is a solid 9. This is definitely check it out. And I know the weekend's over, but if any of you have a chance to see it over the weekday or next weekend, you should do it because honestly, this is a super fun movie. This is a super fun watch. You should see it. Man, and for how cheaply made it was, they did a great. It looked great. So anyway, I think that will be it for this part. So I will be back for the spoiler section. So I'll see you guys next time. See ya. Hey guys, it is Rapmark here. So back with my spoiler section to the menu. All right, so let's start off. So we have Tyler and Margot, sort of two companions that this story sort of focuses around, and it's just talking about Hawthorne, which is this exclusive restaurant on this island, this private island. Um, so it sort of focuses around those two. And then, of course, you have the celebrity chef, Jillian Schlowick. And the other guests include Lillian, a food critic, with her editor Ted, a wealthy couple, Richard and Annie. In the very beginning of the movie, she sees Richard, and she's just like, oh shit, because you find out later that she's an escort, and Tyler actually hired her to come with him because they don't seat singles. It's got to be with two people. So anyway, and then you have George. So George Diaz he's sort of a past his prime thing, and from what I've read, John Leguizamo, I believe that's how it's pronounced. He based it upon Steven Seagal, who, I mean, man, that makes sense because again, washed up person, not a great person. Oh man, so that was kind of cool. A little tidbit there. Um, and his assistant and girlfriend Felicity, and then business partners Soren, Dave, and Bryce. Now, all these people were essentially brought here for a specific reason, um, and you find out real quickly why. So, once again, they're given a tour of the island, how all the kitchen staff sleep in this sort of like one little bunker to maximize their time because they have to prep, they have to cook, they have to catch stuff, they have to do a lot of stuff. Um, but anyway, they're on this boat, and the very first thing they try is like some caviar and stuff like that. And Tyler's just taking pictures of it. Like he's a big foodie, and he's kind of a little nuts. But anyway, so when they get there, you find out that Margot was not Tyler's designated guest for the evening, and it's brought up a lot. It actually is brought up. You know, Elsa brings it up, as well as Julian. Just like you're ruining everything. Why aren't you eating? I can't handle the fact that you just aren't enjoying yourself. But yeah, you have like for every for every course, he claps his hands, Julian, the chef, and he makes this sort of monologue. So honestly, like absolute props for Ralph Fiennes. I wish I could pronounce some of these names. Regardless, he is famous. He's the guy that played Voldemort. So that is something everyone should know. Yeah. So yes, he's in this. But yeah, he did an amazing job. Like, and he delivered his lines like a complete and total champ. As this sort of celebrity chef who has lost his passion, and so yeah, we get into it. So you get the first dish. It's sort of this like mushroom and flowers on these sea rocks and salted, and again, like normal people wouldn't eat this stuff. I definitely haven't eaten anything on that level, but I have had the whole like. So his second course is breadless bread where he has just the condiments that you dip the bread in, but no bread. I have had that. I have had, numerous types of steak. I've so I haven't been to like really expensive fine dining, but I have been to fine dining enough to where there's some cool stuff that they'll do with it, for sure. Mostly Asian places for me, to be honest. Uh, anyway, and it's like, yeah, they're all like talking shit. Most people don't care, and I mean, at very first, he's just like, don't don't eat, you know, embrace it, use, immolate in it. Like, enjoy the food is what he's saying, and it's because again, they're paying like a 1,600, 1,800 a pop just to be there. So, this is not a place for the everyman for sure. Anyway, so the mixed reactions from the group. Uh, Tyler is just absolutely on cloud nine, but Margot picks up really quickly that, the whole rigidness. This is not her thing, which again you find out later, but this is spoilers, so I've already said she's an escort that was hired by Tyler, not his girlfriend, even though it kind of plays it off that way at first. Um, and yeah, this is just a bit much for her. She's not enjoying the food. She and once again after the bread, she wants to send it back and get something else, and Tyler just goes off on her and like at the like because I didn't know at the time, I'm just like, what the fuck is up with this guy? Like, what does she even see in this guy? This is nuts. Because the way he was talking about it, it was kind of cool. But man, yeah, you find out that he's not right in the head either. Anyway, so she goes to the bathroom, and that's again where Julian comes in and talks to her. He's just like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. You're ruining everything." And it's just like, "What don't you like about my dishes? And who are you?" Because he knows that she's not who she says she is. Anyway, so on the third course with memories, he talks about this disturbing thing about how his alcoholic mother. So his alcoholic mother's in here the whole time. Uh, yeah, so that's the thing. And his dad was apparently an alcoholic, and this is talking about how he was hurting his dad was hurting his mom, and to stop him, he stabbed him in the leg with a pair of kitchen scissors. And then now he wished that he had stabbed him in the throat. But anyway, so the meal then is the chicken thigh with scissors stuck in the meat with tortillas laser engraved. And this is where you find out sort of why everyone was brought here. And he does go into a monologue a little bit about it a little later. But essentially, with their misdeeds, so the three sort of business partners, they work for the angel investor that's funding this whole operation. And they were apparently creating invoices and stealing money, essentially. See, George, he is a washed up. He just lost his passion for his craft. He's a sellout essentially at this point. So he's just like, ugh, And then Lillian and her editor Ted are just like they've apparently destroyed and had not had places, but because of her reviews, some of these places have shut down. Uh, and then, of course, Richard and Annie, Richard's just a scumbag, but she's just like coming in here all the time with him as well. Like, and it's just like his despising of of richness. Like we'll get into that in just a sec. So, you know, tacos are always on the menu because that's what, brought him, back in the day when he was just a fast food chef and made Taco Tuesdays. So So three is where you start to get a sense of something wrong. Four is where shit starts to get crazy, and where the big reveal is essentially brought up. So, anyway, fourth course is what we call the mess. So he brings Jeremy, the sous chef, who designed the dish. Jeremy is and explains how Jeremy has always wanted his to be a great chef. He wanted Slowick's position, could never measure up to him, and he's just like, he's good, but he's not great, and he never will be great. And Jeremy's starting to cry at this point. He's just like, do you want this? Not my position, not my fame. Do you want my life? And he just shakes his head no, is crying. And then Jillian walks away, and Jeremy puts a revolver to his mouth and blows his brains out, and just falls on this sort of garnished tarp that was prepared, because it was always expected that was what was going to happen. And there was a tarp that was brought in front of the kitchen so that blood wouldn't get all over the place. So, yeah, at this point, everyone's freaking out. Something's clearly amiss. Some people think it's just a joke, but yeah. Richard tries to leave the restaurant, and he tries to get past these guys, and he's just like, I'll handle this. It's just like, with which hand will you handle this? And then she chooses, all right, the left ring finger, because he doesn't need that, because he's a complete scumbag who cheats on his wife. So anyway, it's all part of the menu. So again, and that's when he goes into why each one was brought to this place. Because he has a huge resentment toward the wealthy and those who just take advantage of people, and how he's just constantly trying to please all these people who can't be pleased. They're never satisfied because they're takers. So it's awful. And essentially he lets them know that the night will end with everyone dead. Everyone there is going to die. And he starts with the corrupt angel investor. So he has him tied up, hanging up with angel wings, and he just dips him into the ocean and drowns him. And it's just like, this means that I am free. And that's how he points out how they're all going to die. So anyway, he asks Morrow to go back because, again, she wasn't planned to be there. She's not supposed to be there. But he gives her some leeway. He wants to offer her a choice. Does she want to die with these scumbags, the customers, the takers, whatever, or with the staff? The people who are the givers. And that's he suspects that she's in the service industry, and admits that, yeah, she's an escort. Her real name is Erin. So gives her a chance. Says she has 15 minutes to figure it out. So they go into the fifth course, which is men's folly. So another sous chef, Catherine, comes forward, and Julian tells a story about how when she first came to work here, he tried to sleep with her. Not once, but twice. And, he was still allowed to work there because once again, the chef is the king of the kitchen. He is the grand master, and she had to put up with it. And so he had her stab his leg with a knife, again in reference to his father. I guess I think that's assumed by me. I'm assuming implied, just because of the whole symbolism of everything so far. Um, and then essentially gives the male characters a 45-second head start to try to escape. And so they all run. They're all caught. Ted, Lillian's editor, he is the last one to be caught, and so he gets a special meal. Uh, just like, congratulations on being the last one caught. Here's a special meal for your time. And I love how again, every meal, everything has a title card with what the dish is called and what is in it. So I like that. It's super fun. It just adds to the fun of it all. So the female guests have their own meal in the restaurant, and they try to convince Catherine to help them. And she's like talking. It's just like, well, there was once upon a time that would have mattered a great deal to me, when they compliment her. And then they find out that she's about as unhinged as the chef is, because she's just like, oh, it was my idea to have everyone die as the meal as the meal message. So yeah, the whole murder suicide thing. All right, so then afterwards, and everyone's sitting again. All the mail's been returned. Slow it goes to Tyler. So he was invited personally and knew that the dinner would end with everyone's death. Which obviously pissed Erin off. The only reason she's there is because they don't seat singles. So he essentially dragged this poor innocent girl who can't even stand this experience, to her death because he just wanted to experience this and a die, apparently, with his fucking hero because he's a nutcase. So he pulls him forward and then goes and makes him cook. And it's the worst sort of cook. Like, he clearly doesn't know what he's doing for being a foodie. He just let unwashed vegetables, the hugest chunks of leeks, with a chopping method that has remained unrevealed to anyone. And then just lamb. And I like how they refer to the meat as the protein. That is such a just rich, like, dining experience type thing. Uh, and smothers the whole thing with butter. And Sloak tries it. It's just like, this is terrible. And essentially how he's a fraud. And then he says something to Tyler, which, he's crying at this point, takes off the coat, and then he commits suicide by hanging himself in his storeroom. Because apparently, this guy was clearly nuts. This guy, like, at this point you realize this guy is fucked up and nuts. So anyway, Sloak decides to put Erin in with the staff, asks her to collect a barrel needed for dessert, saying that Elsa forgot it. but that you find out is not, because Aaron sneaks into Sloake's house that has a replica of Hawthorne, and then is attacked by Elsa, and a nice little fight scene in which Elsa gets killed by being stabbed in the neck, because she's just like, "You will not take my place." And yeah. Um, and then she sees something in there that really comes into play later, as well as a radio. So she calls for help, returns to the restaurant with the barrel, and then as the night continues, the Coast Guard arrives. He has a gun, and after asking for an autograph from George, George puts on there, "Please help us," and they briefly have hope. But then the officer reveals himself to be a chef in disguise and returns to the kitchen. And they're kind of at this point just resigned to their fate. They're gonna die. uh, Initially, Sloak says that wants to, because of what she did, that she belongs to the guest, that she's a taker. But then she complains about the food, sends it back, and says that he creates the greatest sin in his cooking because it's not made with love. It lacks the most basic ingredient, love. Just like all of our dishes are made with love. It's just like, no, you cook out of obsession. Love has ceased being a part of it. And sends her food back, and it's just like, and that she's still hungry. And he asks, "Well, what are you hungry for?" "I want a cheeseburger, and not some crazy with crazy shit on it all, just a regular all-American cheeseburger with fries." And he goes for it. And as he's making it, he's just crying, and he has a smile. It's kind of like this last gasp of happiness before he ends it all. And takes a bite, and it's just like, "That is a cheeseburger." "Yes, that is a cheeseburger," he said. And he says, "Well, I'm sorry, but my eyes were bigger than my stomach. How much will this put me back?" $9.50, he says. So she lays out a 10. Just like, "Can I get this to go?" And so he grabs a to-go box it's put in the to-go box, and then she said, "Take a to-go bag. It has a menu of tonight's meal, where you can get the ingredients." And then lets her go. Apparently because, she enabled him to live the last second of happiness before he ended it all. And she finds the boat that the Coast Guard came in, and escapes the island. So then you go to the dessert, which is s'mores, where she's just like, he just talks so much shit on it. Just like marshmallows with graham cracker crust and chocolate. But the whole thing is brought together by fire. And so there's, gasoline poured everywhere. And all the guests are given coats of marshmallows and hats of chocolate. And then he lights the thing on fire. And then the whole restaurant blows up. And then a card shows up. So like, Hawthorne s'more. Hershey's chocolate, marshmallow, graham cracker crust, customers, staff, restaurant. And as this thing's burning, The boat kind of breaks down. Erin finishes her cheeseburger and watches the fire burn from a distance, and wipes her mouth out with the menu, and that's how it ends. So, like I said, it was a super fun, super great movie. There are some elements where you kind of you can't think about it, otherwise it just won't make sense and it'll kill your enjoyment. Just go for the ride, go for the message, because again, it has a great message. Like, all these people are scumbags. Like, it shows the super rich and like their issues. How they just don't care about things. One, like, the rich guy couldn't. He'd been there 11 times and couldn't say one dish that he had been taught, even though he literally introduces each course as it's brought up. And asking for substitutions, which is from the young people who, yeah, again, worked for the three young business partners, worked for the angel investor, and they were scumbags too. So, anyway, so like I said, I super enjoyed this movie. It was a lot of fun, and I think you should check it out too. It is definitely worth your time and money. So anyway, I think that is it for this review. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.